Hey y'all, Knox here with the American Suppressor Association, and welcome to the first suppressor policy update of 2025. In today's video, we're going to give you updates on all the pro-suppressor legislation that's been introduced so far this session, fill you in on our most recent status update in Illinois, and tell you all about what we learned at SHOT Show when we sat down with ATF. Let's start by jumping into wait times. According to ATF, as of December 1st, 2024, E-Form 4s averaged 28 days for individuals and 52 days for NFA trusts. Fast forward to January 1st of this year, and those numbers fell respectively to 20 days for individuals and 34 days for trusts. According to our friends at Silencer Shop, the wait range for their customers is 1 to 94 days, with a median of 4 days for individuals and 8 days for trusts. Once again, we have to note that these average and median times doesn't mean everyone is going to get their application approved that quickly. There will be applications that take longer because that's just how averages and medians work. Nonetheless, the waits all around continue to get faster despite massive increases in demand, and that's something we should all celebrate. Before 2024, anytime there were increases in demand for suppressors, wait times would inevitably increase due to inefficiencies within the transfer process at ATF. Last year, that problem was finally put to bed. In 2023, the ATF received just over 390,000 Form 4 applications for suppressors. In 2024, that number skyrocketed by 91% to more than 746,000. That's right, 746,000 suppressors sold in 2024. That massive increase brings the total number of suppressors in the NFRTR, aka the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Record, also known as the NFA gun registry that we are working to abolish, to 4,419,578 suppressors in circulation in the United States. To put that in perspective, when I formed the American Suppressor Association in 2011, there were about 285,000 suppressors in circulation. That means from 1934, when the National Firearms Act passed, to 2011, 77 years later, 285,000 suppressors total were registered. Almost as many suppressors were sold between last September and the new year. I've got to say, it is truly wonderful that ATF finally figured out how to properly utilize the E-Form system. It's not perfect, and it won't be until we get those wait times down to zero, but it's a massive step in the right direction that benefits suppressor consumers and the suppressor industry alike. If demand keeps up, we expect to cross the 5 million mark by Q3 of this year. And that's with 8 states that don't allow suppressors. Imagine how many more would be in circulation if California and New York and New Jersey and Illinois all allowed their law-abiding citizens to use suppressors to help protect their hearing. If 4.4 million suppressors isn't common use, I honestly don't know what is. But I do know this: the more suppressors we have in circulation, the stronger our cases become. On January 14th, Judge David Dugan held another status hearing on Anderson v. Raoul, the ASA Foundation and Silencer Shop-backed legal challenge to Illinois' ban on suppressor ownership. Although Judge Dugan did not issue a ruling, he did schedule another status hearing for April 15th and indicated that if the 7th Circuit of Appeals has not yet opined on the pending challenge to Illinois' assault weapons ban, he will be ready to promptly issue a decision in his case. So, while we are still in wait-and-see mode, we think we finally got some light at the end of the tunnel. Stay tuned for more. On the legislative front, this January, we've seen a flurry of fantastic pro-suppressor bills introduced at both the state and the federal levels. The Hearing Protection Act was reintroduced in the House of Representatives by Representative Ben Cline of Virginia. At the time of filming, there are 49 co-sponsors. If you're not familiar with the Hearing Protection Act, it is a bill that was first introduced in 2015, seeking to remove suppressors from the National Firearms Act. That means no fingerprints, no photos, and no transfer tax. In addition to pro-gun groups like the NRA and the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation, one independent medical association has already supported the new legislation. The Academy of Doctors of Audiology sent a letter to Representative Cline this January voicing their unequivocal support for the Hearing Protection Act in order to improve citizens' access to suppressors. Law-abiding citizens should not have to pay a tax to protect their hearing when they exercise their Second Amendment rights. We applaud Representative Cline for his leadership and willingness to fight for the rights of gun owners across the nation, and look forward to working with him and his team to advance this common sense legislation. Another piece of common sense pro-suppressor legislation that was recently reintroduced is the Protecting Americans' Right to Silence Act, aka the PARTS Act. Introduced jointly by Representatives Austin Pfluger and Jared Golden, this bipartisan legislation aims to reform the outdated definition of silencers under the Gun Control Act. It redefines the definition of a suppressor, narrowing it to cover complete devices or a single essential component akin to a frame or receiver. In doing so, the Parts Act eliminates the ambiguity of broader terms like combination of parts, which has led to a tremendous amount of regulatory confusion and abuse by ATF. It's time to clarify serialization requirements for suppressors and their components in a simple and unambiguous way. In Connecticut, Representative Doug Dubitsky reintroduced legislation to legalize the use of suppressors by hunters in the field. As it stands, Connecticut is the only state where suppressors are legal to own that does not allow you to use them while hunting. It's going to be a tough fight to get Representative Dubitsky's bill passed out of the Environment Committee, through the legislature, and to the governor's desk, but we do look forward to working with him to do everything we can to advance his legislation and make Connecticut safer. In New York, Senate Minority Leader Robert Ortt reintroduced legislation to legalize suppressor ownership in the Empire State. He has introduced similar legislation in every session since 2017. If enacted, New York would join the 42 states where suppressors are currently legal to own. We at ASA applaud Senator Ortt for his efforts to help protect the hearing of the citizens of the great state of New York, and we look forward to working alongside him as we pursue this common sense reform. Last but certainly not least, Senator William Parkinson introduced the Hearing Protection Act of 2025 in Guam, seeking to legalize suppressor ownership within the U.S. territory. Back in 2021, Senator Tony Ada introduced similar legislation that actually passed the legislature. Unfortunately, Governor Guerrero vetoed the bill when it got to her desk. This go-round, Senator Ada is back in the legislature as the vice speaker, and it looks like Senator Parkinson may have the votes necessary to override another veto. We are thrilled for another opportunity to legalize suppressors in Guam, and we'll do everything we can to help get it across the finish line. In the meantime, the American Suppressor Association will continue to fight for your suppressor rights. If you like what we're doing and want to support our work, click the link below or visit us at asamember.com. That's asamember.com to join or donate to the cause today. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time.